it allows you to.
Excuse me, guys, I'm sorry about that. I wanted to record this. If it's not okay for anybody, let me know. Is everybody okay with recording? Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
And so the idea behind it is, how do you maintain a modicum of control with your product and still create value? The value is in someone owning a piece of the asset, and being able to control how that asset is monetized at the secondary and tertiary levels, which the NFT gives you that certificate of authenticity. So I think that being able to trade that and commoditize it, whether it's in a museum space, whether it's in an educational space, whether it is people adding to the narrative in the 3D immersive environment, you are building an ecosystem, if you will, that is historical in context, and you're able to bring it into, again, what are collateral things that people want. Some people want the exclusivity of ownership of something that someone else can't have. Other people want to wear that as a point of engagement and pride. Other people want to be able to insert it into their work. So from a foundational perspective, really taking Mr. Powell's collection and taking what Mr. Clark is doing in terms of workforce development and the arts, and combining those pieces together, we're able to capture history with that as the entry point. And I'm sure if we do it correctly, we pick up people and artifacts along the way that people may not even know have value. And I have access to capital, so once we tie it to real estate, we're able to produce facilities that are income producing, income generating, which becomes a stabilization model for anything that's in the artistic space.
Wow. Okay.
And you can ask me any questions you like.
Well, yeah.
Up to 3. You get 3 questions.
3? Okay. Well, I'm not going to use any of mine right now. All right. Well, thank you, Terrence. All right. And
that was a joke.
In this particular, there's another gentleman who I think can help lead the way in how we can create a pilot around Mr. Powell's collection, as well as how we can, add value to his collection and his story. Okay, here's one more person. I'm gonna let it in. And I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I'm setting him up so that he can actually deliver what he does in an elevator. And he's, again, introduced me to some of the things I can do to make sure that we have a group of people who are all on the same page, working towards, again, introducing or exposing and creating awareness for people who just aren't in the game right now. And so without further ado, I want to introduce Lemuel Walker.
Wow, so formal, so serious, Kevin. Well, nice to meet the ones I don't know. Shoni, good to see you. John, we're just talking about not being in extreme temperature environment, so good to see you on the other side. Real quick, I'm a designer by trade, but I've been working across a few different vectors. Kevin and I met about Valence, but more recently we've been talking about some of the stuff I'm doing with a company called Origin, which is part of the Internet Computer Protocol, which is one of the larger full stack layer 1 and beyond infrastructure players. The focus that we have is on the physical object being brought into the metaverse by scanning and having really rich metadata around the NFTs, as we call them now, but they go beyond that. So Kevin, as I heard you kind of tee things up, and also what Terrence was saying there, it strikes me as a way to kind of kick things off with you all to kind of talk about some of the aspects of how this world has been working for a while and how it's starting to evolve in a newer and more interesting way, I think, for people who are trying to onboard into it. So specifically, what I would say is the first 7 to 10 years of this space have been very solo sport based, where you as an operator, you get to hear about Bitcoin, Ethereum, so forth. You set up your wallet. It's very secret. It's very, very much buried into your own personal operational security model of how you want to protect your wealth and go into the future and all these things, right? And to get in there, you have to have capital of your own, and you have to transfer and go across the the bridge to get in there, right? And people have been doing it as more things like PayPal and Coinbase has made it easier. What has been beneath the surface though for a while in terms of like the principles behind it all is what's called a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. So one example that I think will be really interesting for you all to consider is something called Syndicate. I can share my screen and show you a couple of things around it, but Syndicate as a principle is something that investors have been doing already, right? We think about people like Arlen Hamilton, who's been doing some really cool stuff with getting people that can go in at, you know, far below the typical accredited investor level of, hey, I've got $500. Can I get in with the rest of everybody else and be a part of a pool that's ultimately trying to give a startup $1 million? We see companies like Republic and so forth, of which he's a partner there, that are making crowd investing available to people alongside crypto investing. But the DAOs are interesting because you can have that same function with kind of the economics woven with the governance and the oversight and the accessibility of something like Mr. Powell's collection, which has a community kind of, I would say, ethos about it, more so than a pure capital ethos. So let me share my screen real quick on this. So I think it's pretty relevant. Is it coming through already for y'all?
Yeah.
So this is a story that came out in August about this infrastructure called Syndicate, which is based on a very powerful platform called Terra, which is out of Korea. But the big heavyweights are Andreessen Horowitz, Snoop Dogg, you know, a bunch of really well-known venture groups, including Coinbase itself, Ashton Kutcher, and so forth. So there's already a 150 person kind of roster or entity roster of investors that have come in to make this infrastructure more turnkey for projects and endeavors, sort of like what we're discussing here. So I'll send these links once we're done, but I just think it's an interesting option around what I believe you're headed towards. And here you can kind of see, just from the way they've written this, around the idea of the technical debt being reduced for someone to use this, so that you really get the chance to take, if someone's got access to capital like Terrence, or someone that can bring together a lot of people who have something they want to contribute to that pool, and then you can set up the principles around what you're actually investing in and or shepherding, and it's all built kind of around that opportunity set. Obviously the Twitter account is also worth seeing, some of the activity that's going on there. So I just wanted to kind of throw that into the table of thoughts that I had, Kevin, around, you know, things that go beyond even what Origin is doing, that are probably a bit more aligned with, you know, setting up the infrastructure for the collection to live in perpetuity, being able to extract funds or allocate funds from that pool for the creation of NFTs on whatever platform or whatever context is most relevant, and to have accessibility for people who want to get in and be part of it, more so than, hey, a bunch of investors put this together, now you can have access to it. I think that model is maybe not the most relevant here. So that's my take on it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Lamar. Another person that I want to introduce, who is more introduced, I think, in several prongs. One, I met him as a operator inside of radio and broadcast, with sales and marketing and advertising as an emphasis. But he's also been interested in helping to provide student workforce into what he knows about that industry. And so what we've been experimenting with is how to take some of the community colleges, some of the 4 universities that I work with, and how to get them prepared for entry into this space. So there's a part of this that I want to be able to share with students as they're learning by doing a lot of the work in the media capture, as well as some of the other areas of how to capture 3D objects that could become NFTs. I want to expose them not just with the processes, but also the notion that what they're learning about is something that they can get for the first time, maybe some understanding, not just about financial literacy, but about wealth building, especially the ones that are coming from the communities that I work in Black and brown communities. So instead of them just learning how to, be in the arts, TV, and film career pathways, I want them to get their first dual understanding of how we can get them to make sure that in the baked into their understanding of what they're doing is how they can get this socialized, not just one to themselves, but to one to many, peer to peer. So I want to introduce you to John Bassanelli. John, can you say hello and just give a little context and overview of what you may be able to add to this?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. With my experience in broadcast and digital media, and working with Kevin, to provide access to, the underserved and sometimes ignored communities. It's, looking for opportunities to give them some hands-on experience and the opportunity to learn something that can take them into, levels that they really maybe never even thought of or certainly weren't exposed to, and be able to make a decision about what they want to do and what level they want to participate. But giving them the hands-on access is super important, because without that initial access, then there's no knowledge, there's no information, and there is no real access for them. So that's what Kevin and I are working on to bring that opportunity to whoever really wants to invest themselves in it and really make something of it, so that they can, realize some dreams.
Great, thanks. And the last person I'm going to introduce, and I'm going to introduce Linda, and then kind of bring it home. Shoni, can we see your face? Can you give us access? Great. So to tie us all together, John, I, Shoni, who we're going to hear from, and Lemur were all at a space about almost 2 years ago. 2 years ago, in about a month, I think we were at the broadcast corporate headquarters of a company called Intercom. And we were invited there by a workforce development organization called LAEDC that did a summit for all the community college, and I think some other four-year university, as well as politicians, to talk about workforce for people who are in marginalized communities. And part of the thing that we were really going to be introduced to is a new broadcast facility that Intercom had invested in that could become, or would have become, a place where students were going to not only learn some of the hands-on about the broadcast, radio, and advertising, but their ability to use that facility was what we were working towards. We never got a chance to see the facility. I saw it for the first time about a week ago. But this young man here was one of the people who met with John and some of his staff about, the way ahead for students to create almost like a focus group, if you will, to teach some of the radio and broadcast operators why students, what student behaviors are in terms of consumption of media, and really to get, them to tell, the operators what are their needs and what are they looking for in terms of a match for where things were going in broadcast. And, again, COVID came, and that was that, except for we started to still work behind the, behind the curve. And here we are now today. So Shoni has been one of the young people that I've been working with for the last almost 5 years, back from AT&T and City Council. We have literally determined that he wants to be a person who advocates for student voice and agency. And so that's why I want him to, kind of be looking over the shoulder and learning a little bit about what he can do to bring peer-to-peer some of the ideas and notions of how to, get wealth building embedded in all his conversations with the things they're trying to do. They're trying to create a foundation, a trust, and all the other things that we're doing for Mr. Powell. They're trying to do themselves. But I don't know, I've never heard them really talk about, wealth building and what wealth is and how to even get there. So Shoni, if you can introduce yourself and some of the things you'd like to see happen so that you can be exposed to the way that you can introduce this to your cohort of students you're working with.
Ooh, wow. Thanks for the introduction. And hello, everyone. It's been a nice long while. Hope you've been well. So yeah, for the longest time, I've been working with Kevin on student advocacy and trying to figure out a way to, I liked how you put it the last time we were speaking, a living wage for students, or for anybody for that matter, who's looking to get into the industries of media and art, if that makes any sense, because you can be successful without making a living wage within the art industry, and that's just unfortunate, but that's just how it is at times. So that's pretty much what I'm working on, is working closely with my good friends in establishing a coalition. The Expressive Technology Coalition is what it's called. And right now we're working with one college at the moment and a bunch of over 50 different clubs. We're helping them run all their clubs, run their meetings, getting them organized, electing their presidents, getting them, media ready and media set. We have videos and documents and templates and things like that. So that's just on that front. Unfortunately, I clicked on the old meeting link that sent me to Google Meet, so I didn't see or hear the very beginning of this meeting. So I don't know the whole context. I apologize for that. So what I can say is I'm excited to see what's in store. It sounds like we're definitely talking about, metaverse, the whole entire rebranding of FB. And we're talking about Origin, which I know very little of. But I'm fascinated by this new digital age that we're getting into with NFTs, with cryptocurrencies, and to see how that can play into building wealth and building success for up and coming students, as well as just entrepreneurs in general. So thank you.
Okay, great. And so I'm here right now at the City Club in Los Angeles. I've been here a couple other times, but I was invited to lunch by Linda, who was actually at the event that we did Wednesday for Mr. Powell and General Bray for a pre-Veterans Day event, and had no idea that she was as connected and as knowledgeable about the things that we're talking about today in terms of investments into crypto and some of the extensions beyond. And so it sprung an idea that I wanted her to meet some of you guys around the idea of a pilot and how we can introduce some of the players and introduction of crypto, not just for students, but for anybody, who's from these marginalized communities or people who just are trying to figure out how to get in. I wanted her to share with you some of the things she talked about in terms of her understanding of it, and again, where we can merge on a pilot project around bringing a workshop or an experience together where we can, again, connect people to some opportunities to jump in either feet first or head first. So, Linda, if you can just give them a little context and some background on who we are and where we are in terms of City Club and crypto.
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Morgan Sam, recently married. Most people know me as Linda Morgan. Sam is my newly married name of 2 years.
Congratulations.
No, thank you.
Great, I forgot to congratulate you.
I'm a member here of the City Club of Los Angeles. I've been a member here since 2017. And as a member here, I'm one of the most valued members, I'll say, in terms of taking my networking skills that I've acquired here to a whole nother level. I have 4 events that I do here a year around jazz. I'm a jazz and blues legacy preservationist. I've honored over 187 jazz and blues legends in Los Angeles in the past 10 years. From Barbara Morrison to Billy Mitchell to Gerald Wilson, who's no longer with us. You name them, I've honored them under my umbrella of Living Legend Foundation. I've since this year or last year folded Living Legend Foundation and created and merged with another foundation or organization called the Leimert Park Jazz and Blues Society. I live in Leimert Park. Barbara Morrison has her studio and performing arts space in Leimert Park. So we are now the Leimert Park Jazz and Blues Society. My wealth building information comes from my mentor and big brother, Dr. George C. Frazier, who is in Cleveland, Ohio, who took our energy away from being online, doing networking events, to now being online, doing wealth building events and conversations around cryptocurrencies. We are invested in 3 or 4 different platforms around cryptocurrency. One of my good friends owned the only female brick and mortar where you can go in and purchase cryptocurrencies here in the city of Inglewood. Her name is Naja Roberts. You may have heard of her. She's part of the Black Billionaires Bitcoin. She's also doing her own thing she just now started being on what's his name, the radio station. She's in December, she'll be having her own platform. And so she's also a member of the Chamber of Commerce that I'm a part of as well. So we just interconnect in so many different ways around building wealth and this cryptocurrency. I have a 20-year-old who is thoroughly invested as well. I've made sure that he is going to be okay and that he learns as much about it as possible. So.
Well, great. And guys, what I'll do is I'll try to connect one of the reasons why I'm here meeting with Linda at the City Club. She introduced to myself and Mr. Powell the day after we did our event Wednesday, which was Thursday, Veterans Day, the opportunity to join the City Club as a member. And she said that it's her wish or her initiative to get more people of color like us into the City Club so that we can network and network about things that have impact. And so that's what I plan on doing, is becoming a member and as a nonprofit, and being able to create whatever pilot project we do, is to create a momentum awareness drive around something that truly not only will have impact, but will have legs. And what I've been talking to people about is, what could everybody use? You know, some people are interested in Buffalo Soldiers, some are interested in basketball, some are interested in whatever. But I think everybody is now in agreement that, you know, we've got to start, you know, looking at our North Stars as how we can do for self in terms of looking at wealth, but not just wealth, but how do we take where we are and start to elevate ourselves to some way of independency and breaking the barriers, not only the barriers, but breaking the silence that we have of taking our successes and not sharing it with our other friends, our other community members. And I think that that's what I'd like to see happen, is a way for us to use any pilot project to start collaborating and working with people so that there is a true impact of networking and modeling. I don't see enough of that, even within the nonprofits and educational institutions, is that there's just not enough interest in sharing. So I believe if we can do a pilot where we're doing workshops, that would be the narrative of how we can do a workshop that everybody could try to get in where they fit in. And it could be a major breakthrough in allowing people to see that it doesn't destroy their business model by letting other people know about what's going on. So that's what I'd like to see happen if we do anything inside of this group, is how do we can actually start to find those people who are willing to break those silos that we've been in.
One thing that jumps out at me, Kevin and Linda, as you kind of gave the overview, and pleasure to meet you, Linda. The opportunity for the City Club to actually have a membership NFT and potentially a DAO itself is a way for the members to actually get comfortable with a wallet, with a token, with the capacity to contribute and to do things with it, right? That's the word I'm gonna use is a nerd word, but it's praxis. Like you don't learn this stuff by thinking about it or talking about it, you learn by using it.
By doing it, yeah.
And so if there's a way that you know, an allocation of you know someone's time or someone's kind of like vision could lean into, well, what would it mean if the City Club became a tokenized membership where you can literally have the sharing principles as part of the membership itself, so that you're not, you know, you're not disconnecting the realities of being there and being present with what your vision was. I mean, that's what this technology really allows you to do. So I just want to throw that out there because it jumped out at me as like, I'm hearing about a lot of investment clubs, particularly in the NFT space, where you have to have the NFT to get onto the Discord. Once you're there, then you can see and participate. Without that, you're not able to get in. It's like, well, get it, figure it out, get in there.
Yeah.
I can see a similar type of play here. And it doesn't have to be an expensive thing. You can even have it be a free thing that people will just get as a, you know, as a educational gift. But just putting it out there is not that complex to set something like that up. And it's an opportunity for you to accomplish your goal, which is literacy and comfort with this stuff.
Well, and
That's really great. I'm sorry.
being a member here, there are several committees in which you get involved in to leverage your membership. And Kevin being a member, I could see him taking this to the business development committee. We have a whole business development group. That's all they do. That's all they talk about. I'm on the several other committees, the Women of City Club Committee. I'm on the Civic Engagement Side Committee. We have an entertainment committee. So every one of you could very well bring your ideas and expertise and get them funneled or handled through being a member. Membership has its privileges. And as you become a member and you're able to get your ideas out, and I think that's where these kinds of things organically just happen. For example, like I said, I am Jazz and Blues Legacy Preservationist. I joined this club in 2017. I now have 4 events that I do a year around jazz legends: January, April, July, and October. Every one of those events are sold out, and they are jazz legends that I bring here to the club for a night of jazz. And so those are the type of things that you can do as a member, being inside of membership. Otherwise, someone on the outside may be wondering, well, how can you do the things that you do? You can't join the club and not participate to get the investment that you are paying to be up here. It's not cheap to be up here every month. So it's worth it, the investment, to bring this kind of ideas to the club, because we don't have nobody here talking. I'm probably the only one in my little silo talking about crypto. I don't really talk about my cryptocurrency world up here because I'm in my other areas when I'm here. I got the Women of City Club and I'm in the civic engagement. So, but this other side is, I have it all, you know, is attached to me, but it's not just activated here. It's activated outside of here. I'm on conference call, webinars and Zooms daily on platforms around cryptocurrency. So I don't even talk to nobody. I don't even share with nobody up here. How about that?
Well, you know, what Mr. Walker said was really interesting, because I was just in South Carolina last week. And so when we talk about underserved, underbanked, underrepresented, undereducated, disenfranchised, and politically ignored communities, just taking the jazz, right, what that you described, you just created the ability, with what he said, the ability to quadruple the earnings on that happened just by virtue of the information being dropped. Secondarily, in the development that's being done in communities, because of what he just described, we know that an alternative ecosystem is being created as we speak. That's really what he's talking about, and the ability to move things into a different universe and to create a value, if you will, where value has normally been dictated by another system. When you brought the membership component into it, what you did was essentially uh, clarify that commercial when it says membership has its privileges back in the day. You just, NFTs allow you to do it. And if you take it and you wrap it around immersive technology with what's being done from avatars, again, 3D technology, and we're converting things to art that people normally, and I'm being really simple about it, what people normally don't attach to art, the creative process that we all have. I just received a call before this call with some people that were talking to me about some property in Kenya, working with a couple of governments there that are using crypto and real estate as a balancing offset to each other. I'm going to be on a call with them later today not today, later tomorrow. It'll be early time here, talking about how do we transition that into a tangible process that can be replicated across different spectrums.
They're doing that
This
with
is
Hyperfund.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can tell you, I'm receiving all of this information because of the work that we're doing in other places. We're dealing with women in India, and how do they take their creative processes, the beads that they make that they sell for $5. Well, let's convert that to an NFT and give it a new value, and let's take it to a broader market. And then be able to track that all the way through to its other iterations. And oh, by the way, let's use a currency that is quote unquote crypto to be the exchange model, which can take place inside of a community that's independent of all the other communities because we've assessed value based on the things that are inside the membership group, whether it's real estate, businesses, gas stations, whatever we do, depending on how we leverage the capital that I have access to, because it is acquisition capital. Once you acquire it and you take it to other models, and I'm talking too long, so let me stop because I got excited. But once we take it to other models, we're able to exit it and use the crypto as the deciding driver, and we've established value, and we use those other values to stabilize the community so it becomes a community that is not only functioning internally, it also has a relationship externally in a way that people have normally not been able to participate in trade. I will stop right there because you have me excited.
I mean, not even touching the tipping on the iceberg in terms of the legacy preservation around the jazz and blues legends. That's my whole other world. And y'all talking about NFT and them, that would be a museum within itself. So I just put a pin,
We need to.
put a
Yes.
pin on that piece right there.
With what you're doing right now, you need to move on that yesterday because you just changed the game. Now they'll come to you. They'll be lined up and you grab the exclusive to that. And then you create subcultures in that ecosystem that allows each one of them to have their own identifier. Or you can break it into segments or genres of the different music styles. That creates a whole nother dynamic. That legacy will live on. You've now preserved them. They can't burn that down.
I was just wanting to see if you could give us a quick state of the art, Linda, in terms of what's happening in your observation around jazz, right? When I think about it, and I think about Shoni, for instance, how is jazz showing up, or should it show up in his world in the next 3 to 5 years? Because I'm, you know, I and by the way, my parents are jazz musicians down in Louisiana. That was their world, and you know, coming out of that got me into design and all these other things that I'm into now. But I'm just curious how you seeing that bridge between the icons and the legends of, you know, several decades and the future.
Well, mighty fine way that you asked. The bridge is well traveled. Leimert Park is the community in which is keeping that bridge filled. The world stage, which was created by a drummer by the name of, why does his name escape me? Anyway, Dwight Treble has keeping the legacy of the world stage alive through music. They have concerts on Fridays. They're streaming them. There's a young family of one of my jazz legends who's a drummer, Donald Dean. His grandson and his granddaughter, Jamel Dean and Darren Dean, are keeping this generational connection. So they have a show coming up on the 27th of this month. So in terms of, you got the Kamasi Washingtons, you got the young brothers that are taking this to the next level, and they're staying connected to the legends to make sure that they're extracting as much out of them as they can while they're here. And that was the whole purpose of me doing the work that I've done, is to shine the light on them and give them their flowers while they're here. My organization was living legends. I don't celebrate the dead. So they had to be alive in order to receive my award. And so to have captured over 187 in 10 years, I was doing some work and still is. I'm doing Jazz Salon here in downtown at the LA Athletic Club on the 28th with John Clayton and Alexander Hamilton. The other cat, their names are escaping me, but I'm engulfed in this work to keep the legacies alive, but I'm always in the back of my mind. And I know, God, this is the day that my mom anniversary is that he's bringing what I've had in my heart to the bigger picture of making sure that their legacies lived on forever. And this is the realization. In my mind, I was thinking of an online museum, some kind of way that I could preserve them, but this is taking it to the next level, to the next generations, on, and that their kids and their kids' kids can be involved in to ensure that their legacies live on. So I'm a little full right there. I ain't gonna put no tears on the screen, but just know that I'm all involved, and it's because I'm in this cryptocurrency world that I've already been in conversations around NFTs. I have friends who are creators of them who've been talking about them, and so I'm in the space.
Well, guys, I'm always the guy that thinks about a flashpoint where we can do something. And I met with a gentleman from Cal State Dominguez Hills, who's the curator and director of all their preservation stuff, and he just showed me the collection, a jazz collection that they just acquired. And the boxes that he opened up, and the 45s, and the albums, and the reel-to-reels that he showed me of his jazz collection. I recognized some of the tapes of some of these people, Moody, and just some of these people, but this was a collection that they just acquired. I know they don't know what I am thinking about what they should be doing to make sure that those collections are not in those little vaults that were room temperature and look like, vaults and not vaults, what are they called? Places where crypts or whatever, but nobody will ever see or enjoy these things, at least in my lifetime, let alone these young people. So I'm always thinking about exposure and expansion of these exposures so that they can take on a life of themselves. So I believe for Black History Month, this guy said he's not doing anything yet because of COVID has stopped everybody planning a lot of Black History Month stuff. We have museums and libraries, but I want to take advantage of any venue who has vax programs and can let people in while we can still do some hybrid event and do something this Black History Month, because I don't know if the world is ever going to go back to the way it was before COVID.
No, never.
So Linda said that she's still looking at trying to program some stuff for Black History Month. And so she's got this art wall that is a component of what she does, where she puts art on the walls during, is it for a month or a week or?
For a month and a half.
Of art, of
So
artists.
February, the first couple of weeks in March.
And man, what I saw with this guy's collection was not only,
It's been changed. The new artist is up.
Okay, well, what I saw was not only posters of concerts and newspaper clippings of these jazz artists. And I don't even know if some of these young people even seen a 45, but I saw art becoming real media that generations will never even know, that could be put on the wall. And is this art for sale? Is it just for, yeah. So anyway, I look at this Black History Month as putting some type of exhibition of materials that will expand people's brains and thinking about how this stuff can be enjoyed, tokenized, digitized, and being able to expand people's idea of what art is and what it can be.
Well,
To, sorry, you want to go ahead?
no, go ahead. You got it.
All right. I was just thinking, just digesting everything that's being said. So this might not be executable now, but maybe for the next Black History Month, probably, because I don't know what time constraints are, how much resources are going to be available. But it just struck me that it would be interesting to see if we did some type of, like you said, hybrid digital event, and where we create NFTs of all the artwork that's there, and we make digital versions of it, and these can be sold off as a part of the event, maybe even raising capital or raising wealth or just raising awareness of this, and and that can be contributed towards building a digital museum for Mr. Powell or for something like that along the lines, is what pops into my head from just listening to what all of you guys are saying. I'm not sure what all goes into that because I myself have never made an NFT. I've just been kind of under a rock right now, just studying and learning just 3D modeling and stuff like that. So
Okay,
that's
so
just my
let me
2
tell you how
cents.
quickly, young man, that could
Yeah.
happen, if I'm understanding this all correctly. I placed the art on the walls in February here at the club. So somewhere between now and then, that artwork would be NFT'd before it hit the walls.
Our digital museum, we can put it in a 3D immersive environment
Yeah,
starting tomorrow.
Yeah, that I know
Well,
I can do.
I
I'm
have
not
that
sure about,
technology.
I'm just not sure about the NFT part because I don't know anything about that. But I know the digital part. Yeah, I know that we can do that in like a few days.
And so then
You
in
can-
February, when you have the event, that's already in place. People are
Correct.
coming to this event in February to see this amazingness of NFT world and all of that in some sort of grand event that we put together for February. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, that's what I was
That's
thinking.
doable.
And you would also
Never
put it in a
limit
3D.
yourself to what you can think about. You just need to execute it one step at a time.
You would also put it in a 3D environment. So for people that couldn't attend live, they could attend immersively, right? So that 3D environment he's talking about, that event that you're doing in February could be created online in 3D.
Well, hey, guys, we're up against time constraints, so I recorded this, but if we have 30 seconds each to, give you the floor, is there anything else you can say so that we can make this, part of our next meeting? So Terrence, I'll start from left to right.
I just appreciate your time. Anything I can do to help, let me know. You all are some brilliant people. I'm glad to be in the circle.
Okay, John? Oh, you're muted. John, you're muted.
I love all of it. I think that if we really press it, something could happen in February for sure. And I think there's way more opportunity here than we're talking about right now. But I love all of this stuff. And I think, this is where everything's going. We got to be there and we got to try to get ahead of it a little bit.
Okay, Lemur?
Yeah, I think the last few points are really powerful. You take something like Decentraland, which is something to investigate. You can set up your own district there, right?
I
can
know
set
the
up-
people who made that.
Right. So
They're
you can
really
set up. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying that I know the people who created Decentraland. It's fascinating stuff, but I'm just gonna zip it.
Yeah, so Decentraland is the leading light in terms of like event slash 3D realms. And what you'll notice that they kind of model themselves almost after like Art Basel, where you can have little districts. So you could have a city club district inside of Decentraland where you could permanently have this and add stuff to it.
Yeah.
The process of creating a concert that John's team could set up so you actually have the audio streaming into that environment that you're in is an
January
easy.
22nd is my Jazz in the Sky.
Where is it?
Save the date, January
Where is
22nd.
it?
It's here, City Club. It's a Saturday night.
Oh, cool. So you could have a companion Decentraland environment that you create to look like yours.
Right?
And the process of creating the NFT, just real quick, there's definitely several ways to do it. The only thing I would say is just, know that the intellectual property ownership and how that chain of title works is really the key to your success, right? So if you have new art or art that people are consciously kind of contributing to this, great. If it's using album covers and so forth, be careful. Literally today, Quentin Tarantino's move with his NFT around Pulp Fiction, Miramax threw lawsuits at him. So those old legacy pimps, frankly, is what I'm gonna call them. They are on notice and they're looking and watching for anybody that's looking to, mess with their money stream. So we gotta know that anything you're looking to do forward, you should be trying to create a new. So I'll leave it at that.
Wow. Shoni, any
Wow.
few seconds before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm more than thankful and excited and thrilled about the prospects of everything that can be happening. I'm humbled by the opportunity to really be able to look over the shoulders and even participate and learn all that I can about this new emerging market, because it is the future at this point. And so I've just been trying to learn what Terrence was talking about, which was, making a virtual space and how to take, the physical and turn it into the virtual and just interacting with that. And so, I'm thrilled to be a part of the team. So thanks for having me.
Okay, Linda.
If you guys can do one thing for me, look up Tiger Pen Entertainment. Tiger Pig Entertainment. He is a member here at the City Club. He is the chair of our of our entertainment committee. He works in artificial intelligence. The kind of networking that you guys are talking about around that, he would be somebody that I would introduce y'all to say, how can we bring this to the City Club? What do we need to do to get inside the City Club? Well, his wife happens to be the chair right now. She on her second year as being the chair of the Board of Governors here. But when you said AI, I immediately know that would be Todd Seligman. And to say the 4 dates, January 22nd, April the 30th, July 30th, and October the 15th. Those are 4 dates that I will have Jazz in the Sky here at the City Club. And April the 30th is much more important to me than any of all the other dates because that's International Jazz Day. And I participated in International Jazz Day with Herbie Hancock now for the past 7 to 8 years since its creation.
Wow.
So I plan on making it huge here at the City Club. I plan on calling him. I plan on inviting him and everything around International Jazz Day.
Okay. So guys, I've recorded this. I'll send the recordings, but I'll be working with Linda as I join the club. I want to be able to, again, say what we can do to put something on the map for February. I want to use it as a date to raise awareness of everything we've talked about and dedicate it to my mom and to Dakar Foundation. We're 30 years in existence this year. So with that, I'm making it happen. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Great meeting, everyone. Look forward to our next meeting.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Take care.
Maybe I
Take
can
care.
invite y'all
Have a great day.
all up to the City Club.
All right.
He
Bye-bye.
can invite y'all all
Yep.
up to the City
Yeah, I'll
Club.
invite you. Okay. All right. All right, guys.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good.